Oh shit, hold on. Nobody can hear you.
Okay. Default, focus right. Okay, how about now?
What's up, chat?
Can people hear me now?
What's up, chat? Can you hear us? Oh my god. There's that lag, so we won't know for a second.
All right, good. We got it. Okay, so we're here today because I recently rewatched my first YouTube video on this channel that went viral. It got 100,000 views at the time. This video was called Top 5 Reasons You're an Idiot for Supporting Donald Trump. Now, I made this because despite thinking of myself as a Marxist or a socialist, I was still very much in a liberal mindset. And we're here today, with Theory Pleeb, to do an exorcism on my lingering liberalism, or what might be left of it. And we're going to do it using this video. Because here I take it out on the working class here. I blame Trump voters for being stupid instead of the Democrats, for example, for offering anything better or for any kind of left leadership existing whatsoever to offer anything better. So yeah, we're gonna go through it and we'll have some laughs, some cries, and some critiques, and we're gonna shit on the liberal way to look at politics.
And I just wanted to say it's kind of cool that these 2 years ago. Here, let me fix my mic. 2 years ago, you were talking and you had no idea that we would become friends and come along, older, wiser, and critical of your poor prior self.
That's right.
And here we sit in judgment and loving condemnation. And so let's do it.
And yeah, for chat, this is just want to let you know, this is Pleeb's first time seeing it, so this will be kind of a react video as well on top of a critique. So it should be extra fun.
I've been marketing this. I did a stream yesterday and this morning, and I've been marketing this as a live react stream. So everybody, welcome to the live react stream. I'm Theory Pleeb, and I'm really excited to be here. So thanks for having me. So you want me to click on it? Want me to click on it and start going, or what?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get it going.
Hey, in chat, how many of y'all have seen this before? And we can talk a little bit more about Trump and the different ways of thinking about or talking about Trump supporters and stuff like that as we go. So let's just dive in. Should I full screen it like this?
Yeah.
Is this better? All right, let's do it.
We have elected an idiot.
So I know you've all been eagerly waiting for my response to Trump's election. So buckle up, buckaroos, here it is. Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. So ever since the election, I've been hearing all kinds of dumb excuses for why Trump won. Voters are sick of the status quo. Something.
We have to stop because your audio has improved so much. I've seen you. I've tuned into streams where you're not even talking, where it's like it's all, and so like you've really stepped it up in terms of audio. This is like where you're in a bathroom and.
Right. I don't even have a microphone here. This is just this is me in my room with a good camera, but no microphone whatsoever. So it's just the sound's bouncing off all the walls. It's brutal.
Okay, let's do it.
In globalism, working class people felt ignored by the political elites.
I'm gonna go back.
Trump, quote, something globalism. Working class people felt ignored by the political elites. Trump's a good businessman and will boost the economy. Trump's honest and a straight talker. Trump can't be bought. Hillary's corrupt and a war hawk. They took our jobs.
They took our jobs! Oh man, they took your job. They took it.
I'm here to tell you that none of these excuses are valid, nor do they justify voting for Trump over Hillary. It really does just come down to a certain segment of the population being mouth-breathing troglodyte idiots.
Yeah, see, here.
There's the thesis.
And this is what's cringe. And you know, as you go, you'll be able to see some of my influences, where some of my influences came from, obviously, and how I was thinking about this. But like, obviously, I'm thinking in terms of just critical thinking, and everybody should have the ability to think critically about these. And you know, why couldn't they do that? This is their fault.
We can stupid shame them and say they're mouth breathers.
Yes.
What's the other word you said? That's a big word.
Troglodyte.
Troglodyte. What's that mean?
Cave dweller.
Oh, fuck. Knuckle dragon. Cave dwelling. Dumbasses. All right, here we go.
Rational people trying to come up with rational explanations for the irrational. You can't win at that game. They're just idiots. Even if you don't like Trump, but somehow think it's justifiable for someone to vote for him, you're still an idiot because you haven't thought it through enough. So I'm about to explain to you all, slowly so you can understand me, the top 5 reasons you're an idiot if you supported Donald Trump. The number 1 reason you're an idiot if you supported Donald Trump is Donald Trump's an idiot. If, after weighing the pros and cons of both candidates, you choose to support the one who is a verifiable idiot, it stands to reason that you are also an idiot. Let's talk about his speech. Donald Trump speaks at a 4th grade reading level. When his speech was analyzed, they found he speaks almost universally in single-syllable rhythmic series, punctuating each attempted sentence with buzzwords. Out of the few 3-syllable words found, 75% were tremendous.
A tremendous response, tremendous asset, tremendously successful, tremendous mistake, tremendous amounts of stuff, tremendous amount of money, tremendous amount, tremendous problem, tremendous cost over, tremendous infrastructure, tremendous corruption, tremendous corruption, tremendous support, tremendous potential, tremendous headache.
Just for reference, Obama speaks at an 8th grade reading level, Clinton speaks at a 7th, 8th grade reading level, and Bernie Sanders speaks at a 10th grade reading level. His speech is also impressively vacuous. He'll say the same thing 3 times in a row, and it was meaningless the first time.
The problem is the caricatures of him are true. He'll say, it's going to be amazing. You won't believe how amazing it will be. It will be very, very amazing.
See, I was a big fan of Sam Harris at the time.
Okay, smart people don't talk this way.
We should have gotten rid of the lines around each state so we can have real competition. We should have got.
Oh my fucking God. Yeah, this is where it gets really cringe, dude. Oh, fuck.
I know, I'm telling you.
Oh, shit. Oh, I get it now. It's hey, chat. It's not funny anymore. You're talking about my mom. No, for real though. Let's take this as an opportunity to bash down on the people, because the thing is like every politician knows who they're speaking to. They have an average sort of comprehension level that they're speaking to, and so we've got people who are speaking to a very, very like it's the crocodile brain in sales, like they talk about it. It's like this is like the brain of a person who's in fight or flight. They're constantly like these are working class people, are very, very busy, right? So it's this caricature of working class people when the people who voted in Trump were overwhelmingly upper middle class. So this, you know, you fell for it hook, line, and sinker, this stereotype, which is still true. These people still exist. They're definitely riled up by and spoken directly to by people like this. But at the same time, like those people are not the people in power who got Trump into office. And those people, this is the thing. You start talking about their intellect, you know, you went to college, we went to college, you know, we start talking about, oh, see, they are these fucking idiots. So here are these people who like $300,000 a year salaries are talking shit about people who never had a fucking chance past their, you know, when they dropped out of high school. And when we start bashing on how stupid they are, it's like, yeah, well, what are we really doing? Except for elevating ourselves and essentially just being like, well, the elitist East Coast kind of stereotype that they've been cultivated to fucking hate in the first place. And, you know, they're not hating them because those people are in their interests. That's the other thing. You can't vote for your interests. It's impossible to vote for your interests in this society. So,
yeah. Which is, you know, at one point I obviously didn't really fundamentally understand at the time. And Oh shit! I just lost the other thing I was gonna say.
3, 2.
Amazing.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
My soundboard is in the room.
Disgusting.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to it.
Gotten rid of the lines around the state so there's great competition. We have to get rid of the lines around the state so that there's serious competition.
What is your plan? I understand the lines around the state.
The reason we have no competition is because we have lines around the state.
Here's my challenge to you Trump supporters. Find a single video clip of Trump uttering a string of sentences that come together to form a coherent, intelligent, insightful, or even interesting thought. As Sam Harris points out, nearly every time you see him in an interview or a debate, he's being asked to clarify something he said previously.
When I hear Trump speak extemporaneously, I hear someone very often getting prompted by his own misstatement.
What did you say?
Sorry, hit pause because I just remembered what I was going to say. So yeah, in the comments of the video, from what we were just talking about before, there were some people that were making this what you were just saying is that the way I was speaking and my attitude were exactly why people were voting for Trump. So in my mindset, I'm thinking, well, look at the facts. You have this guy.
They are stupid.
Yeah, like you're still not critical. Yeah, you're not critically thinking about this. Blah blah blah. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm gonna sit there and shit on these people for not thinking the way I think, and treating them like idiots because of it, or treating them like children, then obviously they're gonna go for the people who don't treat them like little babies.
Yes. Okay.
Statements to complete a thought in a way that he clearly didn't intend to, which is to say that the thing he's now saying doesn't reflect anything he believed or even thought about before. But he's saying it now because the last phrase he spoke just launched him there. Right? It's as though he's speaking in verse and he's forced again and again to complete the rhyme.
And this is important. When people speak, they're thinking out loud. So when someone's making no sense, you're literally watching their thought process in action. Now, I know public speaking is hard, and a lot of us are much smarter on paper than we are in front of people or having to recite things. But Trump is 70 years old. He's not a 20-year-old stuttering university student. Trump's public musings show such pettiness, such basic lack of emotional and intellectual maturity that it would be inconceivable to promote such a man in any other context. To support a man like this suggests something about your principles as a person. Next thing.
David Pakman really liked to do this from time to time over the last 4 years, right? Where he would, let's question, Trump's IQ or sanity. And my biggest problem with it is that in politics, I think most people assume that the politician knows what they're doing, unless you are ideologically opposed to them and you just see them as a complete, reprehensible idiot who's, it's like, seeing Trump as stupid and just assuming that he only speaks to stupid people, and that a lot of the people he speaks to wouldn't be like, I know what he's doing. He's gaming this. He's memeing, and he knows exactly what he's doing, right? And I think a lot of people think that way. I mean, I know a ton of people who think that way. And he's given himself that memeing like distance and irony that has, it's made it so that it's impossible to actually hold anything he says against him for his most diehard fans, right? And so, I mean, you can say that's not right, but the point is it's just how are you going to argue with that though, by just saying, oh, well, he's just stupid, when, well, in their eyes, he knows exactly what he's doing. So I'm guessing that in the entirety of the video, you don't really address that counterfactual as a possibility, right?
No, and I like that you brought up David Pakman, because when I started getting into deeper into LeftTube, RedTube, whatever, and reading more leftist content, Pakman he kind of appealed to me, because to me, I think he kind of represents the social democratic version of Sam Harris, basically. It's very logical, very dry,
right,
and exactly like you said, he'll make fun of Trump voters' intelligence or Trump's intelligence or his sanity, or have lots of and analysis on it. But then, I would eventually, I started to move away from listening to David Pakman and towards like people like Michael Brooks, who make a point of not, he'll make fun of the shit out of Dave Rubin and some of these grifters, but not the people themselves, not the supporters. And I didn't really understand why I made that drift myself. But yeah, now I find Pakman mostly cringe. Also, he has a couple of bad takes, but yeah.
Well, and I was going to throw in there also that just Pakman and Harris assume a sturdy audience, a rational, linear audience of people who are emotionally in a space where they're able to just sit there and follow along their, college level or high school level, like train of thought. And the somewhat an entertainer who is also into making deals and sales, right, understands the power of speaking to like the lowest part of the brain of an audience and constantly jumping tracks to speak to the competing interests and drives in the room. And so Ellie's in the chat. Hey, Ellie, it's good to see you. And said that I think but do let me know if I'm wrong there. Love that point. The solitariat, that is my impression on people's words and thought process being linked as well. Yes. So when a person is speaking, they're thinking out loud, but also they're usually thinking about their audience. And so a good rhetorician is aware that they're speaking to an audience of people that are not homogenous, and that there's a lot of distraction and people constantly thinking about different things. So like their main point is, if he leaves you with anything, he's going to leave you with things will be tremendous. He did not fucking fail to communicate that point. Everyone is going to walk away being like, it's a joke, but hey, he meant it. It'll be tremendous. It's like, well, does he really mean it? No, obviously, but it doesn't matter. So all I'm saying is I think he knows what he's doing is all. Ellie also said, I think that Solitariat wasn't saying that he was stupid per se, just that his thought process is linked to his words in some very real way, psycholinguistically speaking, which I agree with myself.
I mean, that's partially true. I mean, I don't like, I do think what you're saying about Trump playing the crowd is true, but I also honestly don't think he's that smart of a person. Like, I don't think he's that strategic, but I think he instinctively knows how to do these things. Like, it's not something that's calculated by him.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were. Now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
All right, let's do it.
Stupid beliefs and anti-intellectualism. He believes vaccines are linked to autism. He believes Barack Obama was born in Kenya. And he believes global warming, I shit you not, is a Chinese hoax. These are dumb things to believe. No rational, competent person holds these beliefs. As for anti-intellectualism, those of you who are political science majors or history majors will immediately recognize some of the hallmarks of today's current political paradigm. A deep discontent with democracy, people voting against their own intellect strictly to shake things up and send a message, distrust of elites and intellectualism, growing xenophobia and racism, and the rise of a vapid demagogue who vows to clean things up and make great again. Sound familiar? Idiots.
Take Donald Trump. He's a clown. Literally, could be in the circus. He's getting huge support from people who are angry at everything. Mostly white males, working class, middle class, poor white males. They are furious about everything. Everything's been taken away from them. There's no economic growth for them. There is for other people. The institutions are all against them. There's deep concern that they're losing their country because they are taking it away from us. That goes back to a strong nativist tradition in the United States. It's a country of immigrants, but all the way through, there's been an effort to construct those of us who are here as not immigrants. And now there's the picture of us as being overwhelmed by Muslims and Mexicans, China.
Yeah, what?
So Chomsky's almost making a good point here, where because he's starting to mention the material conditions, like he's saying the institutions are in fact against these white males, these working class people, and that the economic conditions are not good for them. So they do have a reason to be mad about everything, but he's kind of taking it more. He's more just kind of blaming on the racism and the nativism, but at least here he's approaching a material analysis here.
Anne says, I've been watching on my phone, so I haven't been able to comment until now, but Swole's mic is much more quiet than Pleeb's.
God damn it, this happens every time. I don't know why, but I'll just be closer to the mic.
We were talking about your mics. You would be able to turn it up if you were using Voicemeeter. We'll set that up later. All right, so Robert Galindo says, thank you, Ann. Galindo says, Trump can't play crowds well. If he could play different crowds with different styles, that would be one thing. But he is a one-track person. This is just survivorship bias. Could you talk more about survivorship bias? I would like to know how we're implicated in that, if you're saying we are. But
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, is that true? Is he a one-track person? Let's think about that some more and keep playing.
Chinese, somehow they're taking our country away. But the response to this is generalized anger at everything. So every time Trump makes a nasty comment about whoever, his popularity goes up because it's based on hate, hate and fear. And it's unfortunately kind of reminiscent of something unpleasant, Germany, not many years ago. And it's worth remembering that in the 1920s, Germany was the absolute peak of Western civilization. In the arts, in the sciences, was regarded as a model of democracy. As late as 1928, Hitler got about 3% of the vote. It went from the peak of Western civilization to the absolute depths of human history within 10 years. And I don't want to say it's identical, but there are similarities.
But anyway, he's a brilliant businessman. Everybody knows that. He knows how to run a company and manage money. Nope. If you look at his record, he's actually a failed businessman whose only skill is marketing his brand and keeping and holding attention of the media with outrageous statements. He's brilliant at it. His original money came from a multi-million-dollar inheritance, but he also lost a huge amount of money. Trump's failed business ventures include Trump Show, Trump Vodka, 2 magazines, GoTrump.com, Trump University, Trump Ocean Resort, Trump Tower Tampa, and Trump States. Get this, he started Trump Mortgage in 2006, right before the housing crisis. Brilliant. Trump also claims he's worth over $10 billion. When challenged on that figure, Trump told the judge he arrives on that estimate via feelings, even my own feelings. And that could change day to day. This is your business genius. He's basically a poor person's caricature of a rich person. He's a trust fund baby who's an asshole and brags about his wealth. You might as well be the Monopoly man if the Monopoly man were a clown and was missing a chromosome. And it's not simply a case of a few mistakes throughout an illustrious, successful career for Donald Trump. As a multimillionaire, he's done significantly worse than his peers. Business Week put Trump's net worth at about $100 million in 1978. Had Trump gotten out of real estate entirely and instead put his money in an index based on S&P 500 and reinvesting in dividends, his net worth would be about $6 billion, which is more than twice what his net worth is estimated at right now. The next reason he's an idiot is that he's a demagogic man baby and a narcissist. He's constantly reminding people about how great he is, as if we're worried they were...
So I actually had some non-working class friends, I guess you call them petty bourgeois friends from fancy universities that at the time were making this argument for Trump because they saw him as a successful businessman. So I knew
people that said that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is a good argument. No, this is true. I guess what I guess so I've said the same argument, but I've never said it on a public platform. So I would have to research just like, okay, so what? A bunch of bankruptcies. Did he have like 100 different other ventures at the exact same time? Was he just fucking shotgunning, you know?
He kind of
just like creating.
He kind of was shotgunning.
Because you could also say that that's smart, right? It's just bad for the workers who are getting fucked over in the process, and probably the consumers as well. But
well,
you know,
like he didn't. Yeah. He was shotgunning, but like none of them really actually became successful. Like the only thing that was successful was marketing.
Is his name?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like Elon Musk. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, let's do it.
They would forget. And if you don't believe me, here's some of his direct quotes. I tell the truth. I think I have the best temperament. People love me and I'm very successful. Everybody loves me. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I'm like a really smart person. I love the poorly educated. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very educated. I know words. I have the best words. Who talks like this? The incredible thing about Trump is he's actually reset everyone's expectation for what is acceptable for a presidential candidate. You've seen the footage of him openly mocking a disabled reporter.
You got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
Imagine Clinton or Rubio or Romney making fun of a disabled person during their campaign. They'd be done. Over. But for no reason, when it
yeah, that shit still bothers me, to be honest. Like but mainly like the biggest thing is like, you know, the stuff he'll say like, oh, it was locker room talk. And then you can say, well, that's not okay to joke like that in private either. And it's like, okay, yeah, but you're fucking like courting a pretty big audience of people who are really excited. And are you seriously just going to like throw that gasoline on that fire? That was always true. That was always, you know, like I know a person who said nothing would have been different through COVID if Hillary had won. And I just think that like the sort of like that uncouth kind of like purposely offensive stuff does incite fucking hysteria and violent aggression, both. Right. And so like I would say, you know, it's like the Trump derangement syndrome, like the moral panic. Right. Yeah. But worse is the violent stuff. And both of those things at the same time driving each other on. It's wonderful. No, it's not. It's fucking terrible. And so I am grateful to like, hey, if that would just go away, I'd be very grateful. I'm not convinced it will, but like, you know, we'll talk more about that and what we expect to happen in the next few months in a bit. But yeah. Yeah, we'll do that.
When it comes to Trump, our standards have been lowered to that of about a 7-year-old. And this criticism of Trump isn't political. It's psychological. It's neurological. It seems that there is genuinely something wrong with his mind. You wouldn't say that about Romney. You wouldn't say that about McCain, even though Romney is a Mormon and wears magic underpants. So if you find Trump appealing in any way at all, it might be because you're also an idiot. And that brings me to number 2. The second reason why you're an idiot if you support Donald Trump is...
This is the worst part of the video. Just to...
Oh,
this
no.
is the cringiest bit.
Wait, which number are we on?
We're finally starting number 2. Just go back like 10 seconds or so.
Okay. And one thing I wanted to say really quick is that we said Trump believes this, Trump believes that. And that's something that I noticed that the people who didn't like Trump like to say, but the people who do like Trump, usually they just know that he doesn't actually believe that. So it's just like, it's not a real, it can't be an argument. You have to find a different way around that one. Yeah. Instead of just saying he believes these things, he is anti-vax. People will have a bunch of different things they can say to that. It's like, well, what he believes is kind of irrelevant. Actually, the fact is he says that kind of shit, right? The point is he said that shit about Obama. Like, it doesn't fucking matter if he believes it. And if he's just kind of like saying whatever comes to his head, like that's the essence of bullshit. Actually, let's quick philosophy break. Screech. Have you read On Bullshit?
No, but I think, actually, I added a second part to the a second parter to this video, and it's on Sam Harris talking about how Trump is a bullshitter and not a liar. So that might actually be a good segue, or not segue, but
Well, that is it. No, yeah. So basically just bullshit in that book. I think it's by Frankfurt. Somebody Frankfurt, I forget the full name. But basically it's just like, it's not, okay, lying is in reference to truth because you're aware of the truth when you lie.
Yes.
Bullshit isn't in reference to truth. It's just literally free firing from the hip. And so it's very interesting. Okay, let's do it.
It might be because you're also an idiot. And that brings me to number 2. The second reason why you're an idiot if you support Donald Trump is you're an idiot. Now, this may seem a bit redundant, but statistically speaking, if you support Trump, science says you're an idiot. Allow me to explain. Let's just start with some education data here first. According to Pew Research, Trump's margin among whites without a college degree, 67% to 28%, is the largest since 1980. And when you compare the voting patterns of college-educated people in general, Clinton leads Trump by 9 points. And again, that's the widest margin since 1980. It's been decades since idiots have been so passionate about something. This gap in education should tell you something. As a general rule, if all the smartest people and most educated people think one way, and you think another way, you might want to reconsider your position.
Yeah. I told you, guys. I told you.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
According to Pew Research Center, 62% of Americans get their news from social media, while 44% of Americans say that they get their news from Facebook alone. A BuzzFeed analysis found that 38% of the memes shared from right-wing Facebook pages were found to be either false or misleading. Of course, we get a lot of nonsense out of left-wing memes and Facebook pages as well, but they only found false and misleading information 19% of the time. That's literally double the bullshit you're getting if you're a conservative or right-winger.
These sites can warp your views pretty fast. Your newsfeed may have been full of the Times and the Post stories about actual scandals, but many Americans logged onto Facebook every day and saw shit like this. And this cesspool of nonsense would be a problem anyway, were it not for the fact that one of the people enthralled to it is our future president. Back in March, he claimed that a man who had rushed the stage at one of his rallies had ties to ISIS, something that had circulated online and had been found to be untrue. And when that was pointed out to him, this was his response.
There's no ties to ISIS for this man, no law enforcement official, and that this video that you linked to appears to be a hoax.
What do I know about it? All I know is what's on the internet.
Okay. Here's the nice. Being on the internet is not a high bar for accuracy. If I edited Wikipedia...
All I've got, y'all, is the internet. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ellie says that I think that's true, of course, but it's not a good thing to say if you're trying to de-radicalize some folks or radicalize folks. So, like, basically saying, well, like, look, the majority of you aren't educated. But also, I would say after going to college, like, having gone to college says absolutely nothing about you. You might vote a different way, but like, it doesn't really say much about it doesn't really say that much. Like in an average classroom, it's only a few people who like really did the reading. So it doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really, you know what, like 2% of any given classroom, like that is the person who like did the reading, like maybe like 30% on a really good class. Okay.
Or like
so
did the reading, but also engaged with it, really thought about it. Cause like I would do the readings a lot, but only because I knew I was going to get questioned on it. So I would just like have just enough kind of knowledge to be able to say some bullshit answer when it's called upon.
Yeah, people will gut texts to prepare, or they'll just read it really quick and no intention of going back to it. Right. So it's just like, that's that. I don't know if that falls on a political line there. I don't really know if hey, what if those people are part of the 50% of the country who are neither Democrat or Republican? What if some of those people were in college? Who knows? All right.
Wikipedia to say that Diane Weist's real name is Diane Frosted Mini Weist. Our next president would believe that to be true. In fact, during the campaign, Trump routinely used his platform to share wildly incorrect information, and even fellow conservatives tried to point out how irresponsible this was.
You tweeted out that whites killed by blacks, these were statistics you picked up from somewhere, at a rate of 81%. And that's totally wrong. Whites killed by blacks is 15%.
Hey, Bill, am I going to check every statistic? I get millions and millions of people.
You got it. You know, President took in 10
millions of people. You know what? Fine. But this came out of radio shows and everything.
While it's human nature to believe what we want to hear, Facebook's algorithms reinforce political polarization. So because these algorithms are designed to show you things that you already believe, you end up in a perfect feedback loop for retards. You're being manipulated by the system because of the algorithms and what they show you, but then you become a perpetrator yourself by sharing it to your friends who trust you, and they end up believing the same crap that nobody goes and checks just by a simple Google.
See, this is, I feel like this needs to be said in a certain way, but it applies to basically everybody. And the reason I like to say structural stultification is because it doesn't offend anybody who doesn't like that R word. So it's like structural stultification is basically what you're talking about. But what you're talking about, you're acting like it only applies to them is the issue.
That is basically what I am doing in this video. Yes, correct. Yeah. That us smart people who went to college and who think critically, it doesn't apply to us.
Yeah, you're outside the matrix.
Yes.
So because of the prevalence of nonsense and false information on Facebook, especially on the right, Facebook has played a large role in actually deciding this past election.
And that is the evil genius at work here. Weird conspiracy bullshit has always been bubbling under the surface, but Trump was the first major candidate to harness and fully legitimize it. And it's obvious in hindsight. He came along and told millions of people every crazy email you've ever forwarded was true. And that, at least in part, is why he will be our next president. And to their credit, some Republican lawmakers were calling him out on this during the campaign.
I'm going to tell you what I really think of Donald Trump. This man is a pathological liar. He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies.
He was right. He was just right.
Next up is Fox News. Big surprise, a Gallup poll found that 90% of Fox News viewers were either Republican or leaned Republican. And a 2012 survey of media outlets found that NPR listeners were the most well-informed, where, surprise, Fox News viewers were the least well-informed. In a survey about misinformation in the 2010 election, out of 11 false claims studied, PIPA found that almost daily, Fox News viewers were significantly more likely than others to believe 9 of the misconceptions. Just to clarify the relationship between conservatives and Trump, a 2015 YouGov poll found that Trump supporters were 20% liberal, 63% conservative, and 13% very conservative. So we've established that most Republicans are getting their news from Facebook and Fox News. And we've also established that those sources are full of errors and are more likely to make you misinformed. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains that they are not just misinformed, it's that they are completely unaware that they're misinformed. This creates a double burden. Studies have shown that people who lack expertise in some area of knowledge often have a cognitive bias that keeps them from realizing they have a lack of expertise. As psychologist David Dunning puts it in an article for Politico, the knowledge and intelligence that are required to be good at a task are often the same qualities needed to recognize that one is not good at the task. And if one lacks such knowledge and intelligence, one remains ignorant that one is not good at the task. This includes political judgment. Essentially, they're not smart enough to realize they're dumb. Hence the Trump voter. Furthermore,
yeah, I just want to say, I wouldn't say it the same way, but I think that that's basically right. But that is the situation we all find ourselves in. And it's a huge fucking, problem for everybody. But yeah, totally. This is good. Does everyone realize this went viral? For the folks who've hopped in here recently, yeah, this had what? So 112,000 views. So
first video.
That was your first video. Okay, so what's the second most watched video you have?
I think it was a Jordan Peterson video that I took down. I was making fun of the Jordan Peterson protesters. I don't know why. I think I went into a bit of a slight more woker phase for a bit, and I took it down. But I could probably put it back up. Honestly, it's just making fun of like the liberals and the idpol people that were outside of a local Jordan Peterson rally. Not a rally, but a talk, and there was a protest outside. So I went to film it, and there was some silly people. But that was my second.
There were some silly people. They really did make him famous. Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. So you took that down though. But how many did it have?
That was like 16,000, I think. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think the Pinker video might be my second biggest now.
So well, you could have had 100,000 subscribers and do this as your full-time job if you would have just focused on dunking on Trump. Like, there's a lot of channels that did that.
Yeah, I fucked up.
You fucked up. Gotta go back. Get it right next time.
In 2010, political science has found that when misinformed citizens are told that they are wrong, they actually cling to their original opinions even more than they would otherwise. This is called defensive processing, or the backfire effect. Here's some more science on why you're stupid. A brain imaging study in Current Biology revealed that those who leaned more conservative right-wing actually had a larger amygdala. That's the structure that's electrically active during states of fear and anxiety, meaning they scare easy. And they're much more likely to make decisions based on fear. So how?
I'm making right here. I'm basically making like the white supremacist argument. Like, these people are genetically inferior from the beginning, right?
Yeah, you are.
Like,
and I like how it gets things exactly inside out as far as how like the brain works. It's like, what are the material conditions that have produced these people whose brains look like that?
Yeah.
That's the situation. That's the question.
Yeah. Instead of I'm looking at the results of the brains that are firing from fear, because of the society that has created them.
Like, if you're trying to survive and you've got like constant bills and debt, and your brain isn't like that, I don't know what you're doing. Good job, I guess.
Yeah.
Keeping it calm, but a lot of people don't. So, yeah.
How do these findings explain Trump voters? Well, these brain responses are automatic and not influenced by logic or reason. If you listen to Trump over the past 2 years, he's constantly using language to trigger that fear and anxiety switch in your brain, the one that seems embedded in conservative minds. Fears about Muslims, Mexicans, anxiety about America not being great anymore. So when the liberal elite say things like Trump is using the politics of fear, they're not wrong. He's doing it because it works.
It's like those things are true, but there's just other demographics that you don't like talk about or think about, right? Like people who are just generally fucking fed up. They voted for Obama, but just nothing ever changes, and they're just ready to like upset shit. Like, that's not on the table. That's not something you're going to talk about.
No, not liberal me. Well, liberal me is clean shaven, as you can see. Communist
true.
me. Communist me has a beard.
That's.
Just know, though, that if it worked on you, it's because you're an idiot. Reason number 3 that you're an idiot for supporting Trump is the idea that he's a protest candidate. The idea of Trump as an outsider to the political establishment can seem appealing until you take a closer look. Well, Trump tells it like it is. He says what we're all thinking. Over the past couple of years, PolitiFact rated 76% of Trump's statements to be either false or pants on fire false. Another 14% were half true. Compare that with Hillary Clinton's 26% false statements. And recall that it's Trump supporters that have been calling Hillary a pathological liar. But even the media loves Hillary and it's been unfair to Trump. No, they haven't. If anything, they've been way too accommodating to him. He's a blithering idiot. It's literally the job of the media and journalists to call out the bullshit and hypocrisy of presidential candidates. Okay, but they've gone way too easy on Clinton. A, no, they haven't. B, who gives a shit? Her crimes and blunders are peanuts compared to that of Trump. Truly independent.
It's just that their focus on him is what got him through the primaries in the first place.
Yep.
Like, they focused on him instead of other people.
Yep.
And that's why he won.
Ratings. Capitalism got him elected.
Yep. And also, we can't say that it's not also Democrats' fault for not going for Bernie that round. So,
not beholden to the lobbyists. Great. He doesn't appear to be beholden to logic or reason either. So where does that leave us? You know, these liberals just really don't get it. Trump understands us real Americans. You feel like you've been ignored by the political elites of both parties, and you've been made to feel like backward, knuckle-dragging, racist, redneck, reactionary Bushmen. Actually, the educated left does understand your concern. That's exactly why we support Clinton and Bernie Sanders. It's the Republicans who have been systematically stripping away your shot at the American dream for the past 30 years. And in this election, you went ahead and gave the Foxes the keys to the henhouse. Congratulations. You're fucked. This economic war on the poor, which began under Reagan and Thatcher, is called...
This fucking Canadian. coming over to meddle with our politics here in the U.S. of A. Has anyone picked up on that yet? That Swole is actually a part of the Canadian agitprop crew, or I don't know, crew, but country, I guess, because Canada just like, disseminates all of this propaganda our way from all of these people. Yeah, so left and right, both.
Yeah.
Neoliberalism. It's a set of economic policy prescriptions.
You would say?
Yeah, like the Russians tried to hack your minds in the 2016 election for Trump. Well, the Canadians were trying to hack your minds for Clinton the whole time.
Isn't Crowder Canadian?
I think he is, which is quite
And
embarrassing. Jordan
like
Peterson.
20 other of those people. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, Ted Cruz.
Do you say Ted Cruz? What?
Yeah, he was born in Canada.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can Google it.
Chat, is that true? All right, let's do this.
By right-wingers for the past 3 decades, and it's directly responsible for your stagnant wages and increasing wealth inequality. Yeah, but he's going to drain the swamp, change the corrupt culture, shake things up.
What are the early signs on that?
Some of the potential cabinet members that are being reported by CNN that are under consideration: Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, Chris Christie, Reince Priebus.
Right, so that's the longtime head of the RNC, a former speaker who entered Congress in 1979, a former mayor turned professional arsehole, and a man whose name is more synonymous with scandal than Shonda fucking Rhimes. That is so swampy, you're going to need to swap out Air Force One for one of those shallow-bottom boats with a big fan on the back. But some of the people he's bringing in are horrifying. His transition team includes people like Ken Blackwell, who has argued that homosexuality is a choice. And he's named Myron Ebell to lead his EPA transition team, making him a frontrunner for administrator despite this.
The whole case for global warming, I believe, is silly, and I believe the vast majority of scientists think it's silly. And therefore, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I waste my time on a silly issue.
Yeah, but Trump's really just the embodiment of the backlash against political correctness. Look, Hillary isn't the one shoving pronouns down our throats and creating safe spaces for all the professional victims to be safe from triggers. She was against gay marriage, for fuck's sake. She's no social justice warrior. Yet she's guarded with her words, almost to a fault, but at least they're words that form a coherent thought. And while we're on the subject of safe spaces, Trump apparently feels much
Hillary is cringe.
This is a blow to the political establishment. Nope, this is literally their field day. This is going to get them exactly what they want with a Republican House and Congress. You idiots. What have you done? Congress's approval rating was about 13% in 2016, and it's been about that level since 2010. People say government isn't working for them. Well, guess which party has controlled Congress since 2010 and the Senate since 2014? Republicans. They blocked every single piece of legislation brought forward by Democrats and Obama to make them look bad.
Ultimate irony of this election is the cynical strategy of the Republicans, which is our position is government doesn't work. We're going to make sure that it doesn't, but they're not draining the swamp. McConnell and Ryan, those guys are the swamp. And what they decided to do was, I'm going to make sure government doesn't work, and then I'm going to use its lack of working as evidence of it. Donald Trump is a reaction, not just to Democrats, to Republicans. He's not a Republican. He's a repudiation of Republicans, but they will reap the benefit of his victory.
I'm supporting Trump.
That's the best take in this entire video.
What? The only message you're sending is that if you're poor and uneducated.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate on it?
Yeah, that's the best take in this entire video. Way better than anything I ever said. That what the Republicans have done, and Democrats, under Clinton and Obama too. These are, but especially Republicans, have created the conditions where a Trump can get elected. Basically, in an effort to stop the trends that Republicans have been, especially Republicans have been setting the country on. Yet they're only, in the end, they're helping the Republicans.
Yeah.
You'll vote for anyone as long as they speak to you in a childlike fashion. The fourth reason you're an idiot for supporting Donald Trump is his policies. Lower taxes. For a bunch of idiots being so concerned about the debt and government spending being out of control, you've got yourself quite a pickle here. Forbes estimated that Clinton's policy of taxing the rich would actually decrease the federal debt by $1.4 trillion, while Trump's would actually increase the debt by $6.1 trillion. Because tax cuts don't work. Anyone with a fucking economics degree or political economy specialization knows that. Everyone knows that. Fuck. Just like Reagan, just like Bush, we know what's going to happen with Trump's tax decreases. Trump's also said in the past that the U.S. should, as a nation, default on its debt and try to renegotiate it like it's a golf course or one of his failed casinos. Refugees. Trump's rattling about open borders and how we're bringing in all these potential terrorists as if we don't have any screening process. The United States has the most rigorous screening process you can imagine. This isn't one of those things that's up for debate. It's actually incredibly hard to get into the United States as a refugee. Most of the people getting into the country are mothers with children, and the very few men that get in do so because they're the fathers of multiple children. You're not getting single males in their 20s like you are in Europe. This isn't a thing. Build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. For now, let's just ignore the fact that Mexico won't pay for it. According to Pew Research, the undocumented immigrant population has been steady at 11 million for the last decade and has actually dropped from its peak in 2007 since then. And while the U.S. has a better handle on border control than Trump lets on or understands, he's also dead wrong on how undocumented immigrants arrive in the U.S. in the first place. According to PolitiFact and the National Review, over half of undocumented immigrants come by plane or just overstay their visas. So good luck with that wall. On Iraq, Trump said that we should have always just taken their oil. Just taken it.
When asked how he would do this, he said, and this is a quote, well, you just would leave a certain group behind, and you would take various sections where they have the oil. People don't know this about Iraq, but they have among the largest oil reserves in the world. You know, it used to be to the victor go the spoils.
Now, there was no victor there. Believe me, there was no victor. But I always said, take the oil. One of the benefits we would have had if we took the oil is ISIS would not have been able to take oil and use that oil.
Let me stay on
to fuel themselves.
This is just insanity. Forget about the logistical problems of, quote, just taking the oil. Forget about the ethical problem of taking the main.
Did you add this visual behind a cutout of Sam Harris?
No, it was somebody else's. Somebody else had created this Sam Harris talk compilation, put it on YouTube, and I just stole it.
Okay, because that would have been some fanboy shit right there. That would have been some next level.
I was pretty deep into Sam back then.
I mean, because look at this though. He's like atheist, critical thinker, self-help guru, and I'll teach you how to wake up. And then he talks to you about how bad Donald Trump is while doing like a hypnosis thing.
Yeah, couldn't get more.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Main resource from a country we were ostensibly trying to help and further impoverishing tens of millions of people. I mean, what's he picturing happening in Iraq to the Iraqi people when we just take their oil? Mass starvation? Okay, forget about that. Forget about the fact that ISIS's primary funding hasn't been oil. They were robbing banks and forcing people to just give them money. Forget about that. Just imagine how the world, both Muslim and non, would have responded to our invading Iraq and then just stealing their oil, which is to say, confirming the craziest conspiracy theories about why we invaded the country in the first place. Trump is telling us that this is what he would have done had he inherited the ongoing problem of Iraq.
ISIS. Despite the fact that he promised everyone that he had a secret plan for ISIS, it's come to light that no one in his administration has any plan. But they're working on it. In the past, Trump has mistaken Iraqi Kurds for the Iranian National Guard. He's demonstrated zero knowledge of Islamism and Islamic terror. On the other hand, much to the chagrin of the left, Clinton has actually demonstrated a willingness to confront Islamic extremists. Let's also not forget that Trump said, when you take out ISIS, you have to take out their families. He just advocated for a war crime. On torture, Trump actually brags about...
Yeah, that shit is just... That's everything Sam was actually saying in that clip, though, was true, I think.
Yep.
And this part is all spot on the nose, yeah. It's part of, that's all of the people in my life who are Trump supporters. I just, would try to bring these things up, and it was just they just did. It's just no, nothing you've heard is true. Nothing you've heard is possible. It's just not true. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And they're just checked out, and it's
well, it's cult thinking.
Fake news. It's fake news. Hold on. I've got this on my button board. Let's see.
You are fake news.
There we go.
Wanting to torture people.
As far as I'm concerned, waterboarding is absolutely fine, but we should go much further. And I got a standing ovation.
You might actually think this is a good thing and that America can benefit from this no-nonsense stance on terrorism. But you'd be an idiot if you thought that. In 2014, the U.S. Senate released a report that found the CIA's use of enhanced interrogation techniques and torture was completely ineffective over the past 10 years. Didn't get anything. That's because torturing doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. We've always known it doesn't work. But retards that vote for Trump are the type of people that think it's a good idea. And it's because when you're tortured, you'll say fucking anything. That's why the information is completely unreliable. We know that you can get much better information using the carrot method than the stick. But you don't want to hear about facts and reality. You're a Trump voter. Now, you remember how I said Trump thinks global warming is a Chinese hoax, right? Epic levels of stupidity. Right, so for the environment, he wants to downsize the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, the agency that's already way underfunded. He wants to repeal all federal spending on clean energy. That includes research and development. He wants to end the war on coal, despite the fact that coal is on its way out already, and there's nothing left of an industry for him to save. Trump's promised to defund NASA's climate research division because of reasons. And he wants to scrap Obama's Clean Power Plan, the plan that helps reduce carbon emissions. All of this, despite the fact that it's way cheaper to mitigate the effects of climate change now than to just do nothing and wait for shit to happen in the future. Ban Muslims from entering the U.S. Now, he has said he softened his stance on that already, but he only changed it once he realized how incredibly impractical it would be to enforce. Probably someone had to explain this to him, slowly. I'm not bringing this up because of the blatant racism and xenophobia. The point here is that he knows so little about government and public policy that he actually thought this was a feasible policy position to have. Now, instead, the Trump team is talking about putting all U.S. Muslims on a registry because we did it during World War II with the Japanese. It's bad enough he's invoking the Japanese internment camps under FDR, but do you remember who else had to register themselves on a list during World War II? He's also promised to kill NAFTA and tax companies who leave America. Can't say I really hate that one. We'll just leave that one alone for now. The scary thing about Trump's policies is that it seems like he's completely winging it, like it's an exam he didn't really study for. He'll say something one day and then change his mind the next when he finds out it's not feasible. He's intellectually rudderless.
He just reminded me like when I didn't read the book and I'm just like just winging it, you know? I'm gonna do it. How you gonna do that? Oh, you'll see. You'll see.
100%.
That's Trump's mind. And what's so terrifying about Trump is not so much his perceived xenophobia or racism, it's that by virtue of his complete lack of knowledge, he's playing Russian roulette, not with his company anymore, but with an entire nation state. And the fifth reason you're an idiot for supporting Trump is Hillary Clinton's a much better candidate. You heard a lot of people before the election saying it's between a turd sandwich and a giant douche. But this is a false equivalency. It's not the choice between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. It's the choice between one turd sandwich and 500 turd sandwiches. They're not even in the same ballpark. Hillary's flaws as a candidate have caused people to forget Trump's flaws as a human being. I don't even like Hillary. She's a rabid opportunist. She's hawkish. She's cozy with Wall Street. She's cozy with some distasteful world leaders. She'll take money.
You were saying opportunist all that time back then, but you were using it in a completely non-racist way, right?
Yes, in a liberal way.
Gotcha.
From anyone. She leans much further to the right than people actually think. There are a lot of reasons to think she's not a great candidate for president, but it would be crazy to say that she wouldn't be a competent president because she's demonstrably well-informed, intelligent,
See, this
and
is
well.
such a liberal argument.
You cannot
this is
reasonably
what people are arguing for Biden. Like this is the quintessential liberal argument. Like this is why people wanted, Barack Obama and Pete Buttigieg. They're these well-educated liberals who are competent and can think things through, and this is what you want. Doesn't matter whose interests they're going to serve. Doesn't matter, but they're competent. We need a. It's better to have a competent imperialist leader than an incompetent one. And I'm not so sure that's true anymore.
I mean, these people are all just like those people in student government. They're just those sorority, fraternity, like. They're just doing the things that they're supposed to do, and they're doing social networking, and like a lot of them don't believe any of the things they're saying, and they end up running the country, because they're going to be good professional managers. So I mean, very competent. Very smart. We've got these people running the gas chambers. They're just very competent, very smart. It's like, oh wow, amazing. Oh great, love to have really smart oppressors. All right.
And ignoramus. You can reasonably say that about Donald Trump. Given a Democratic Senate and Congress, Hillary would stand a chance of even being a good president. Her email scandal. Who gives a shit? What do you think she's really covering up? She a spy for the Russians? She involved in a spooky pedophile ring at a pizza place? The FBI was looking into this crap for a year and hasn't found fuck all. Get over it. No one cares. There's an important distinction between a smart person who makes a few dumb decisions and someone who's objectively a blithering imbecile to their core and whose ideas are anchored to nothing more than personal urges and feelings, like a toddler. We've already talked about her tax plan. There's also her plan to greatly diminish student debt, which Bernie Sanders helped her out with. There's her stance on minimum wage, gun control, abortion, global warming, all kinds of issues where she beats Donald Trump. The thing with Hillary is, even if all the worst conspiracy theories about her were true, she'd still be a better president than Donald Trump. Pizzagate, pedophile rings, Whitewater murders, covering up for her rapist husband, murdering JFK Jr., why not? Benghazi, emails, all of them could be true. Still better than Trump. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you're a Trump supporter, thanks for taking the time to understand why you're an idiot. I really appreciate it. Please feel free to leave a comment below explaining how I've helped you see the light.
Did anyone do it?
There were so many comments. That's why YouTube loved it, because the comment wars in down underneath were insane. And I was commenting on like all of them, like not like most of them. Like I would clap back at most of these people, so that got people commenting more. And yeah, it was what is that, 1,000 comments it says there? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's a lot. 1,071. I like this one. You are, spelled with the U and the R, speaking as if from my heart. Aw. I can't even argue with Trump supporters because I wouldn't know where to start. And it's just so unfathomable to me that anyone could be supporting him. Well, I found it very easy to talk. I found it very easy to talk to people who like Trump. I assume the best, and then I just like treat them like people and assume that they've got reasons for why they did what they did, and I talk to them and I listen to them. So, and I disagree with them, but that's I also disagree with Democrats. So there you go. Like, yeah. It's like I don't really think I have like a duty to favor. So I don't think that your average Democrat is a lot more enlightened than your average Republican. They are probably more educated, but that's not to say, it's not an indicator of anything, right? Education is not an indicator of anything. So beyond obviously like an average tendency to be like in a certain class or something.
Yeah.
But that's not virtue.
Yeah. Your education's an indicator of how well you'll fit in the bourgeois state, basically.
Yeah. Subhan says shave the beard again.
Hey, go back to liberal me. Oh, I don't know.
Red Rundonian said, I think Dundorian. Yeah. Dundonian.
Dundonian. Yeah.
Dundonian. Yeah. Red Dundon. Jeez, now I don't know what words are. I think the TLDR of this stream is basically talking down to people doesn't bring them to your side, right? Anyway, I got to go now. Keep up the good work. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to read that was because I wanted to ask you if you think that is the TLDR of this stream.
Yeah, I think the TLDR is definitely talking down to people or explaining why, especially conservatives, like why But actually, you can explain things to people, but it has to be the approach has to be completely different than what I was doing. What these comedians are doing. You can make fun of Trump himself. You can make fun of Mitch McConnell. You can shit on those people, but you got to acknowledge the people that vote for them honestly or that support them. You have to acknowledge the reasons, like the material conditions that make them think that these are the only options. And you also have to acknowledge that it is the failure of the other side, whatever that side is, whether you're in Green Party or Democrats or even the DSA. It's your failure, really. It's the failure of those parties to offer a convincing message. So it's right. It comes down to leadership in a lot of ways, but also just understanding.
Yeah, well, those.
Go ahead.
Those uneducated demographics have been manufactured that way by a system that deprives people of access to the resources necessary to succeed in this society. And even if they're like these middle-class Trump supporters who have like a house and 3 cars and a boat and a like 4-wheeler or whatever, like, with the kids in college and shit like that. Like, I don't know what, if you call that petty bourgeois or bourgeois, I guess it kind of depends on how much debt they're in and how secure that job is. Life here is still stressful and people still aren't taught at a young age to give a fuck about a lot of really important things, and they don't learn to tune in, and their horizon of possibilities moving forward is kind of foreclosed on being able to really develop the language skills necessary to be able to do the philosophy and history and sociology and economics and political science and all of the things that you have to constantly be doing for your entire life if you are to be, operating in a way that could be competent. So yeah, people just kind of, if it seems unrealistic, if it seems like too much, then people just kind of, that possibilities foreclosed, and you're like, I guess they're gonna have to speak to me at my level, and then you resent anyone who won't. So And it's like, I personally speak to an audience that I presume wants to learn, doesn't care about big words, and will like tackle them, but I still try to unpack them. But I'm just saying I can get where people are coming from that's what I mean.
Yeah. And, these are still tendencies that like, sometimes still crop up. Right. And like, when I talk to certain people that, I don't want to burn bridges with, like I will like, turn it on and talk to them like humans and actually listen to them. But then there's other times when like I'll just see something on Twitter and I'll go off and just be like, you're a fucking idiot, blah blah blah, and take the wrong approach. But like having people in my family actually helped a lot, who got sucked into this kind of a lot of this stuff. And so I was kind of in this weird situation where I had been used to talking down to these people, and then all of a sudden I had to be like, wait a minute, okay, so what is it? What are these people getting at? Like, why are my family members or people I'm close to, what's underlying this ability to believe this kind of crap, or what are they not questioning, and how can I help them? How can I help them understand that maybe they're being taken for a ride, or that there's just because the Democrats are bad, that doesn't mean the Republicans are good, or that there's other ways to think about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think it's just so as far as like how to approach these things, this is an important thing to be thinking about this time of year, depending on what could happen. There are people who are genuinely afraid of a civil war. It's possible. I don't think it's super likely, but then again, you never see shit coming and then it does. Like Alex Jones isn't going to go away. Tucker Carlson isn't going to go away. So it's important to be thinking about how we're going to talk to people who have been disaffected and alienated by the Democrats, whether or not they supported Trump, and whether or not they might have for some time and then stopped, or, who knows. It's important to be thinking about how to talk to them. And I think we just need to, I like nonviolent communication because it's all about speaking to values and finding out where people are at with their values. And then when you do that, you get people to stop just sort of reactively defending whatever it is that they're enmeshed in. And instead, like, you get them to build up from their values. And then you can talk about things that you would both like agree are important, that need to change based on your shared values. And like, I like that. Yeah. Do we need to argue with people about the thing, where we think there's a conflict between their values and their goals, or the policies they support, or the people they support? I think that's important to do, but I think you have to come at it from a place of like, this is a human with dignity and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that you're always in a situation where you can do that. And sometimes you literally just have to tell a person to fuck off. But that's true of like any political like leaning. Ultimately, it's just a little bit more likely with a Trump person because they can be a lot.
Well, yeah, they're very steeped in brainwashing, and not that people on the left or liberals aren't, but it's just very strong. It just happens to be very strong with the Trump voters and the QAnon cultists. But the shared values thing, I think, is a great place to start. Is be like, okay, so what kind of society do you want to see? And you're like, okay, how do we get there? Like, and
speaking of QAnon, everybody, let's make this interesting really quick. So you were like, oh, and pedophile rings and all that bullshit, FBI. Okay, yeah, but you've since then, in the last couple of years, you've also you tune into TrueAnon at least. So, well, could you explain to everybody what that is and where you're at in terms of where you are and compared to where you were when you said that and what you think now? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've always been real big into conspiracies, and so I've looked at friggin' all of them. I would be surprised if I met anyone or knew anyone that had spent more hours looking into 9/11, JFK, and all the other silly ones that Alex Jones people reference as well. But so the QAnon, the Pizzagate stuff, I thought was stupid at the time. I still think it's stupid. The QAnon stuff is, I started listening to TrueAnon because they are Marxists and they look at conspiracy theories from basically a materialist view. And I'm pretty much on board with everything they say. They get into like they look at Jeffrey Epstein and everything, but from like a a pretty rational and critical and Marxist take. So the Pizzagate Pizzagate in particular was all basically bullshit. But there may have been something going on, but whatever it wasn't what the QAnoners were saying it was. There's no demonic Democrat satanic pedophile ring, but there is intelligence. There are people connected with intelligence that use people like Epstein for their own purposes to get people in high places under their thumb, more or less, for blackmail or whatever. It's not because it's not like they're doing pedophilia for the sake of pedophilia. They're doing, like, if they're involved in it, it's because it gives them power in some way. TrueAnon gets real deep into all this, and I think they have a pretty good take on it all. But I think we've go ahead.
What's the TrueAnon take on Hillary's emails? I honestly, and by the way, when I way after the fact decided I'm going to dig into those emails and figure this all out, I actually didn't get very far. I couldn't really find a lot on them. I was just looking for a bunch of good videos, and I was like, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and see like what people's evidence is and see what they're saying. And I just really couldn't find a lot of stuff when I actually went looking for it. Just saying, I found that kind of strange.
Yeah. So,
but what do you know about it? Yeah.
There probably was some shit that she wanted gone on those emails, but I doubt it had anything to do with like any pedophile rings. I think it was more like imperialist, like Warhawk State Department kind of stuff that she wouldn't want to have gotten out, and maybe corrupt, maybe stuff to do with her foundation, the Clinton Foundation, and like favors with Saudi Arabia and that kind of stuff. Or her saying that we need to get emailing people at CNN saying to focus on Trump because he would be easy to beat for her. Like, yeah,
that's allegedly in those emails. Yeah,
that's the kind of corruption I would expect, basically, from the ruling class and from media. But I mean, the Podesta emails, that stuff that came later, and that was different. Those. I think I've been through that. As far as I can tell, there was nothing really other than kind of like shitty Democrats being shitty. I don't think there was anything special that came out of those. I mean, obviously the Q people thought that they meant something more nefarious, but there's no real evidence.
I've thought about teaching a class on epistemology, but it would take me a couple of years just to develop it. And in the development of it, basically, I would go down that rabbit hole with a bunch of QAnon people, and then I would just like make a whole course about epistemology, just like an evidence, reading things critically, kind of a whole course on that stuff. It'd be fun.
Well, you could do that with all kinds of people, with 9/11 truthers. You could do that with anyone who really is into any kind of theory that's like.
Yeah, Rivera does this already. Yeah, but totally.
I'm still not 9/11 truther though. Just so we're clear.
You're not? I thought you were.
I am. I'm still a truther.
Oh, you are a truther. Okay.
Yeah. Bush did 9/11. 5-part
I think
episode.
Bush did 9/11. You think it's Bush?
No, but it's a great meme.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bush wasn't Bush like busy talking about goats with kids or some shit?
Yeah, reading it upside down. My pet goat.
It's just like, are you serious? Was it upside down?
Yeah. Bush knew that the plan. Here's the theory. Bush would have known that the plan was to go into Iraq the whole time. He knew that his buddies wanted to get in Iraq. They may not have told him, the Cheneys, the Rumsfelds, the Wolfowitzes, the Pearls. They may not have, clued him in on, anything else they had going on with trying to make this 9/11 thing happen. But because he might have been, he's kind of not really on their level in terms of like deep state. If there is a deep state, like that's what the deep state is. The deep state is a term that leftists or liberals came up with to describe literally the Rumsfelds, the Cheneys, the people that have been in power for 30, 40 years in this country.
Or the people who are unelected but wield a lot of power. Yeah, which is real. Like the people of the CIA, like who do we vote into the CIA? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's also a deep state. And that's in that sense. Yeah, and people who want to just dismiss that. I've also heard people say that, saying MSM for mainstream media is actually like a right-winger thing. It's like, just because right-wingers start using leftist shit doesn't mean you have to stop. Just they don't own it. Like Chomsky called it the mainstream media. I think you're allowed to.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think a big takeaway is that we shouldn't be doing what Vosh is doing. We shouldn't be doing what your brother is doing if we're honest about being socialist. Because as soon as we hitch our wagon to the Democrats or defend Hillary or Biden, then we lose complete trust in any future possibility of winning. The trust of the working class. The people who don't vote because they don't trust either parties. Or anyone who supported Trump because they thought he would help them, because everyone knows these people acknowledge the Democrats are shit. But if you're sitting there, they're saying why did you support the Democrats? Like, why would I talk to you if you're at the end of the day you're just going to be a Democrat?
Yeah, and I think that the other argument is valid, but the Vosh argument, like not acknowledging kind of what you just expressed is a valid position, and it's a strategic position. It makes a lot of sense. And instead just railing against it, saying that it's stupid or whatever, or saying that it's not real leftist. I just think it's like, no, I think that it's totally valid actually. And I think one of the things that people forget about too is that a lot of people kind of stay away from the news and stay away from politics. And they may identify as something and toe some line as far as like what they identify as, but that has a lot more to do with like who they're around and like their coworkers, their partners, their families. And so I don't know. It's just like we can't treat individuals like individuals, right? Like they're products of social like contexts and material conditions. So it's just different. I mean, when you walk out, that's easy to say right now, but then you walk outside and you have to actually talk to humans again, individuals. They seem like individuals, but they're still in that web of connections. You can't see that web of connections or what's beneath the surface. But when you have to go outside and cope with existence and you're dealing with like angry Trump supporters, yeah, that's definitely difficult. But I think a lot of people just are resentful that they have to engage in politics, or they just try not to. 50% of the country is not Democrat or Republican, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is the biggest thing. My biggest takeaway from the whole video is that the solution to Trump is not anti-populism, which this came off as anti-populist. You don't have to be a populist. You don't have to be a populist, but you definitely should not be an anti-populist. I think that's my hard stance, and my more sensitive, careful stance is that populism is actually good. Real populism is good. The history of populism is a proud history. It's just tarnished by the right-wing appropriations of it towards like nationalist genocidal ends. But populism, its origins were anti-racist and broad coalition, working class building reformists, and they're mostly noble people. Some were pretty racist, but as far as parties at the time, they were definitely the least racist of any of the existing parties at the time. And they were definitely the most interracial and working class. And the Republican and Democrat parties like squashed them. And then Republicans sometimes play populist and sometimes Democrats play populist. But lately, Democrats have been particularly anti-populist. Instead of saying Trump is a false populist, they tend to say he's not. They just say he's a populist as though it's a pejorative, and it's not a pejorative. And appealing to normal people should not be seen as a bad thing.
Would you argue that Bernie was doing populism, or was he doing some kind of class politics, or some mix of the two?
Are you saying class politics and
I think
populism are separate?
Sorry?
Are you saying class politics and populism are separate?
I think of them that way, yeah. But you, I mean,
I don't.
You're free to convince me otherwise.
Would class politics have to be like from a Marxist perspective or something like that for you?
I mean, I suppose you could do it. You could do it a non-Marxist way, but I mean, I'm thinking of it in terms of the Marxist way versus sort of like the way I think of it. Populism is inherently, it's kind of sidestepping class politics and Marxism.
You know, I guess I don't know how class collaborationists you might be able to like actually say that they were, but I think that it was a pretty organic, you know, kind of grassroots working class movement of farmers and miners who are white and black. You said you had the White Farmers Alliance and the Black Farmers Alliance, and they built a party together, and then they became the Populist Party. And this is like the 1870s through 80s, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but that was fucking epic, and it got squashed. And Jim Crow was a way to suppress populism. Actually, yeah, I did a whole stream on that. I'm gonna share it in the chat actually.
Let's see. Speaking of chat, what are we saying? Is anybody still here? Listen to what's drone on.
Yeah, what's up, people? How's it going? How's it going, y'all?
Okay, L says, my theory is a course in epistemology and pragmatism, by the way, but specifically with regards to questions/concerns in existentialism, ideology, ethics, and aesthetics, more generally. Okay, what is she saying here? I do, however...
Yeah, that's her course, yeah.
Oh, okay. I do think that unethical verbal behavior should be called out at times as well, so long as it is persuasive enough to the person being criticized or the audience. Yeah, well, if you can call them out in a way that won't trigger their defenses, and that's the hard way. That's the hard thing to do.
I mean, there's a point where you just draw a line and just say fuck a person, and everyone will agree with you.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be like, if what they said is like uncontroversial to everyone around, and you're saying it, then you're basically saying it about everyone else too. And so that's where, you know, there's a blurry line, but you definitely draw it somewhere. So, or everyone has to, or they choose not to, which is a choice. So I'm gonna hop into this stream here, into the chat. It's up on screen that I'm doing it. I'm gonna paste the link for where I'm unpacking the reading about the history about populism and how modern systemic racism was largely a response to populism, which is funny because that's kind of, the original institutionalization of race-based slavery was done as a response to a pretty reactionary form of populism that wasn't populism because it wasn't the populists. But that's the whole thing with populism. There was a group that called themselves the populists, and it was millions of people who were all working class and white and black. And so we can't go back in time and say Bacon's rebellion was populist, because that's disrespectful to the people who came up with the term in the first place. Like, they mean the people, they mean everybody. But the people back in Bacon's rebellion, they were pretty fucking bad and racist. But the whites and blacks were still working together, right? Which was something that the ruling class did not like. And so that's why they derived a system of racialized privileges for people who are indentured servants. Oh, black people can never have freedom. White people can gain their freedom. Mulattoes can gain their freedom, but it's going to take longer than white people. And so that was the institution of racialized slavery and systemic racism, right? And so the suppressing the actual populace was kind of the big stage two in the story of American racism. So the Democratic Party being anti-populist and using populism as a slur, when they suppressed populism with institutionalized segregation and Jim Crow, is, hold on, wait for it, I've got a button for it. It is, oh wait, is it gonna work?
Disgusting.
Okay, there we go. A little bit of a lag, but it's disgusting. All right, are we gonna close this thing out? Anything else you want to talk about in chat? Oh, I wanted to say about who was it? To the person who was talking about survivorship bias, that seems really useful. To Robert, who had shared that, that's really useful stuff. And yeah, you shouldn't take success to mean that there was necessarily talent there. A person like Trump can just kind of from the gut respond to the conditions around him, and it just works for him. He doesn't know why it works. So you definitely don't. But I mean, I would say that's a kind of talent. It doesn't really speak to like how self-aware he actually is, for sure. But anyway, appreciate the terminology, and I'll definitely look up survivorship bias. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Again, yeah, the conclusion here, the big take is you can't win by treating your enemy like idiots. They're not even your enemy. They're the working class. You can't think of them as your enemy. And you also can't. You shouldn't be defending, politicians that have that bourgeois politicians that don't have your interests in mind, whether or not they're better than anybody else. But we're trying to build a workers' party. We're trying to build socialism. So we have no business getting ourselves in the swamp, getting ourselves bogged down in the swamp of defending one bourgeois politician over another. They're all trash, and we
yes,
yeah. And
our identities do not exist in opposition to other people in the working class. Our identities exist in a relation to those who need to exploit us and will leave us behind in a pile of trash and take off in spaceships pretty soon if we don't do something about it. It's those people. Right. And so if other people are deceived, or if they're like, you're a socialist, and then they treat you wrong as a result of that, okay, well, that sucks and we'll deal with it. But, at the same time, though, it's like I do try everywhere to establish a workers basis with people, regardless of whether they work or not. If they can't work, that's because the system has been made so that they can't be meaningful contributors to their society, because the system requires unemployment and constant job displacement, right? And it doesn't really try very hard to make sure people are incorporated into it in a meaningful way. So fuck that. Fuck
that shit. Don't fall into the trap of what my video was promoting. It's just furthering the false consciousness that there is a split in the working class between left and right, or Democrat or Republican. We're all on the same team. And the capitalists and the bourgeoisie are our enemies. Clinton the crime family, the Biden crime family, the Kamala Harris crime family, and the Trump crime family are all our enemies. All right, so that's it. Let's take it from there and end the stream. Peace.
Hi, everybody.
All right, Dunzo.